Let's go to higher on wide receivers because you got 3 guys. Chris Olave, you still higher on him? Honestly,
I think this is the big coming out party, and I have not said that yet.
Even with the police situation and everything like that, I don't know.
I think it prompts a breakout game. That's what I'm hoping for. I know you're probably frustrated if you have him. There's been no huge blow-up days, but he's got 10 targets or more in 4 of his 7 games, 15 last week. That adds up to the 7th most total, 68 in the across the season right now. He's first in total routes run. He's third in air yards. It's bound to come to fruition at some point. Indianapolis is top 5 in points allowed, 2 wide receiver ones on the other team. So I've gotten questions like, do I bench Olave for James Cook or some of these situations? And owners are frustrated right now. So I know most of you are probably starting Chris Olave, but I had to toss it on there in case you're in like a 2-receiver, 10-team league and you're getting frustrated. I think this is the blow-up game that we've all been kind of clamoring for.
Okay. All right, DJ Moore at the Chargers. You like him at 16. The experts actually only like him at 22. And basically you have written under here, bullet point number 1, Chargers are so bad.
So in caps locks, yeah. They are horrendous. Most points allowed, 2 wide receivers, most points allowed to quarterbacks. I know I have a higher on D'Onta Foreman. I think he's going to have a good day, but I think DJ Moore has an even better one. He had, underwhelming final stats with Tyson Bagent. I think it was 11 PPR points. Nothing horrible, but he got a whopping 35% target share. 89% of them were catchable. It was a clear cut. Go to your guy. Go to DJ Moore. First read targets were all over there, right to him. He was the wide receiver 19 in that week as well. And now that was a worse matchup, a harder time. So wide receiver 19 in his first game with Tyson Bagent. Now he's ranked as the wide receiver 22 in the ultimate gold mine matchup for wide receivers. And maybe they do force a script where Bagent has to throw more often. You know where he's going. It's going to be to DJ Moore. Wouldn't be shocked to see a 14 target and then huge day come out of him if they do force that negative game script where they're throwing it more and often. So I love DJ Moore. You can't have him on benches, even with that quarterback quote-unquote downgrade. But I don't know. I don't know if it, at least an
I'm not 100% sure it's a downgrade at this point.
At least arm talent-wise. I know Justin Fields makes the whole offense more explosive and brings a lot more to the table.
This quarterback has like a certain amount of like cockiness to him almost.
Yeah, Shepherd University, baby. That D2 just like I'm a winner and I'm not going anywhere.
I don't hate it. I
kind of like the juice he brings, and his post-game speech was just like, I love all you. I appreciate you giving me your all. Like he had the locker room in one start. I like the kid. He really did show a little moxie.
Justin Fields has done nothing but lose in the NFL. Let's be real.
It's fair.
Tank Dell at Carolina. We've actually talked quite a bit about him. So I don't know. Some of it you might want to reiterate. No Robert Woods. Obviously, that's a factor. You like Dell to do something big this week, potentially.
Yeah, wide receiver 32, 6 spots above the ECR. I do think Woods being out certainly doesn't hurt. He's been among the team highest in routes and targets, despite doing very little with them. Tank was cooking before. I saw him getting dropped a ton of leagues. He's still only about 48% rostered. I don't understand that. I think he's got to be in lineups at minimum on benches and owned in your fantasy leagues. When he became a full-time starter in week 2, 20.2 and 25.5 PPR fantasy points, had over 20% target share in both. I get it. He had a dud against Pittsburgh, which should have been a good spot. But the next week, he was cooking again, 6.8 in the first quarter, on pace for another big 20-point blow-up day. He's a stud. He gets it done deep. He gets it done at the intermediate. He can get it done right off the screen game at the line. So shifty, despite his small size. He really has such great quicks to get away from his defenders. And even D'Amico Ryan saying getting Tank back is big for us. We can count on him for the big plays. He is pumped to have his guy back. I know CJ Stroud, who banged the table for this kid at the draft, is pumped to have him back. So I am all in on getting Tank Dell right back in the lineups. A lot of questions came in on him on Twitter. On the show so far, we've gotten quite a few Tank Dells. I love him. I'm in. I'm playing him again.
Guys that you're lower on, you got 2 of them, but you're really not much lower on either of these guys. DeVonta Smith going against Washington, you like him at 21. The experts have him at 19. Michael Pittman, you like him at 31. The experts have him at 28.
Yeah, so not a huge discrepancy here, but I did want to get into those guys that you might be on the fringe of for. And in most cases, you're probably still playing these guys, but there's a reason to have caution if you have some people to sift through. Here's why DeVonta Smith might be a little bit sketchier. Wide receiver 21, as you said, 2 spots below the ECR, because this is just the definition of an A.J. Brown blow-up week. He has a 50% target share against man coverage. That is number one in the league. 50% of the time. One out of every two passes is going to A.J. Brown on a team against a team that plays man coverage. Well, the Commanders play the second most man coverage in the league. Good Lord. Just think about what DJ Moore did on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and now you have A.J. Brown in that same exact smash spot. It's going to be beautiful. And meanwhile, DeVonta Smith, this used to be a 1A, 1B, right around each other. I believe they were separated by 10 targets or fewer last year. It hasn't even been close. A.J. Brown's he's over a 30% target share on the year. DeVonta Smith is sure at 20, and that's an okay target share, but man, it is not even close how that's going. And so far, last 4 games, 5, 11, 1, 7, and 7 across those games. Really bad. I mean, there's no way around it. 11 is his high since week 2. It's been pretty ugly there for DeVonta Smith. And sure, this is the type of game where you feel like they could get up big and just kind of get right, feed DeVonta Smith, get the guy going again. Maybe it could happen. Washington sucks, but I just could see it being another 50-point A.J. Brown monster blow-up day. So yeah, I am definitely lower on DeVonta Smith relative to ECR, and certainly based on his recent performances, I might need to be even a little lower than I am right now. Michael Pittman, it's more a bet on the fact that he only had 5 targets and 2 catches last week. I know it was a broken play on one of them. He ended up with 85 yards and a touchdown because of it. And I like the player. He really has thrived. The week before he had 14. So maybe it's a little bit too low on this guy. But I look at this New Orleans matchup. 5th most points allowed to the slot, where Josh Downs just is dominating right now. He's had 4 straight games of 13 or more fantasy points, including a 25-pointer last week. Josh Downs is killing it out of the slot. That's where New Orleans is very susceptible, but they're also conversely very good against outsides. Marshawn Lattimore seems like he's back at doing his thing here. 5th fewest points allowed to outside wide receivers, in particular wide receiver ones, struggling heavily against New Orleans. So given how much more vulnerable they are to the slot than the outside wide receivers, sure, you're probably playing Pittman, but if you have him and maybe even Tank Dell, there's some situations where I think you got to just have a little bit of a pause button with Michael Pittman, whereas he was a set and forget for so long.
All right, let's move to Hail Marys. You got 2. You got one who might be available and one who's almost certainly available. Kendrick Bourne going against Miami, only 41% owned still. It's a little surprising. He's had 2 very good games back-to-back weeks. At this point, I can't believe 60% of people haven't nabbed him, or 60% of leagues haven't nabbed him. I mean, he's been a top 10 wide receiver 2 weeks in a row. Pick the guy up if he's available in your league. Seriously. Also,
wide receiver 9 and 10, 19 and 18 points in his last 2 weeks. Now gets the Miami team, 12th most points allowed, 2 wide receivers. They're definitely going to need to throw. We know Miami can put up points in bunches. I think the big difference in the catalyst for this breakout, he's had 91% or higher route share in 3 straight games after being 59, 73, and 55. A part-time player to a full-time player has resulted in 20%, 33%, and 24% target share here for Kendrick Bourne, getting a lot of those designed yak looks, moving all over the place. He's a player. He's got great chemistry here with Mac Jones. A big reason for this offense looking like they might click is Kendrick Bourne here. But yeah, you alluded to a guy that's out there in a lot more leagues, and this is a really cautious, desperation. It was tough to find a guy, honestly, that's less than 10% rostered. I wanted to get a true Hail Mary. That's the whole point of the segment. But Jalin Hyatt still only 5% rostered. Now, had this been in a better matchup, I would have felt even better about this. But the Jets, really tough spot. I hope you don't have to go here. But at least at stashing Jalin Hyatt, led the team, was second rather among the wide receivers in snaps and routes. He was only behind Darren Waller last week in targets, and he did all right with it. 5 targets, 2 catches, 75 yards, a 42-yarder, a 33-yarder. The week before, 2 25-plus yard receptions. He's among a very elite crew in terms of who's done multiple 25-plus yard catches on the entire season, never mind in a 2-week span here. So he's shown some glimpses. We knew the kid could ball out based on his college film. He's been able to – a lot of people worried, he's just a slot product. He's just a scheme guy. But no, he's really been thriving this last year, 30% and 55% of the air yards. So when I'm taking a Hail Mary, if I'm this desperate, I'll go for the deep shot. I'll go for the bomb. And Tyrod Taylor's really looked good. So Jalin Hyatt, a guy I can get behind as a desperation Hail Mary. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.